here. We have some parents as well, some guests who are joining us this evening. The Holocaust is a difficult subject for the Jews and for the world to still wrap their heads around. It's not easy when you try to imagine what life was like just 70 years ago in Eastern Europe, with cattle cars, with gas chambers, with yellow patches, with tattoos. This sounds fantastical to us, but this really happened. And it's so important for us as Jews, but as people, to not only look at the history of what happened, not just look at the numbers of the 11 million whose lives were lost, but to take the opportunity that we still have to hear personal stories from those who lived through this horrendous experience. And we have the incredible opportunity to listen to Joseph Alexander, who is here this afternoon, this evening, for us to share his story, to answer some questions, maybe explain what some of these pictures are up here on his easel. And again, we thank you for being here this afternoon. Joseph, thank you.
Thank you. As he said, my name is Joseph Alexander. I'm a Holocaust survivor from Poland. I come from a small city in Poland, and we had a family, a father, mother. I had 3 sisters and 2 brothers, and I'm the only survivor. I went through 12 different camps, including Auschwitz, Dachau, Warsaw Ghetto twice, before and after the uprising. The living in the Warsaw Ghetto, the life in the camps, was very difficult. The food you were getting was a small piece of bread about this big and a cup of coffee in the morning. Then you went to work, you came back, you got a soup. We lived on called like a bunk beds, sections where there were like a section for 3 people in one section. One section about 4.5 feet. And we worked, built different kind of things. And the life is people were dying every day from starvation. What they did is they combined. The reason I say I was in 12 different camps, because people were dying in the camps. What they did is they combined 2 or 3 camps into one. And so on, and so we kept moving from camp to camp. The ones, if you survived. So then I worked different kind of jobs. We worked different jobs. I worked building sewers, helped building the Air Force, an airport. I was a roofer. I was working on the fields, digging potatoes, and all different kinds of things. My home life was very nice. We had a very good home life. My father was doing business, and we had our own house, of course. And it was nice. But in 1939, when the Germans came into Poland, about 2 to 3 weeks later, they divided Poland in two parts. One half the Poland, the part I lived in, they annexed to the German Third Reich. The second part was Poland under German occupation. I say about three weeks later, they came in to the houses or the business and gave people 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to get out in the middle of the square. As some of people, maybe you know, that Europe, every town has a town square, center of the town. We lived right in the square. And we lived the second house from one corner. They told everybody in that square to get 10 minutes to get out. For some reason, the three houses where we lived, our house, a neighbor in our house, and an uncle of mine, they didn't touch. So right away, rumors start that they're going to come 3 days later and take the rest. So my father had 3 sisters living right about 20 kilometers under Warsaw, which was the Poland under German occupation, and then it was quiet. So he said, well, we're not going to wait for them to come 3 days later, so let's move there. So we packed up store, packed up whatever we could, one wagon. The parents left with a couple of my sisters, and I remained with another 2 sisters. And we took another wagon. We put stuff much on, put a few pieces of bedding on the top, like we were moving. Before we were leaving, the night before, I sold to the Polish, the farmers, remember they came in, they saw what happened, and they would buy anything they can get their hands on. I sold a bicycle, and I sold a raw piece of shirt material. And he's going home, passing by the police, they stopped him because they thought maybe he was looting. No. Where did you get this? He said, I bought it. Where's your receipt? I don't have it. So he said, go bring the person who sold it to you. And here, we're in the middle of loading to leave. So, but I had no choice. If I figured I don't go, then he'll bring the gendarme to me. So I went with him. So I came with him, so yesterday I come up and said, did you sell him this? I said, yes. Why didn't you give him a receipt? I said, we in Poland, we don't give receipts. He said, by us in Germany, he said, when we sell a cat, we give a receipt. And took that piece of material and smacked that pole in his hat, and here, go. And I left. And so as soon as I left, we took off. So we come there to a town under Warsaw, Bologna, where we had our relatives there. And at the time it was quiet, but you still had to go to work. So right away, that was my first camp I went to. And I was coming to a camp building a canal. And that was late in the fall. I was in the water almost up to the knee without any shoes, any boots. I got blood poisoning. But the camp, this was a camp you work there, but on the weekend you can go home. So after I got blood poison go over my body, sores, so I went home on the weekend and I said, I'm not going back. Anyway, so so the police came looking for me. And my dad said, no, he's not here. So for a few weeks, I didn't stay home and to cool off. After a short time, they established the Warsaw Ghetto. So within a radius of about 50 or 60 kilometers, everybody had to move into the Warsaw Ghetto. So we moved into the ghetto, and the ghetto was terrible. You walked out every morning, people on the sidewalks, laying dead. They came with wagons that kept picking up the dead people. But back home, in the town that I came from, the town Kowa was named Kowal was the town. It was quiet. So my parents decided that an older sister and a younger brother of mine and I should go back home. So we had to, of course, pay off the German at the gate to get out. We paid them off, and we got out of the ghetto, and I started walk one street, and my sister and brother went a different street, and we said we'll meet on the outskirts of town. As I started walking about two or three blocks, a Polish teenager stopped me and gave me some money, or I'm going to report you. Which I thought I gave him some money and he'll go away. But in the meantime, I started keep on walking, and he got on the streetcar, and I rode on the streetcar about 3-4 blocks and got off and come again, give me some more money. So at this time, I gave him some more money, but I changed the street. I went to a different street. And I met my sister and brother, and we went home. When we got home, 3 days later, they said, all the men from 16 to 60 report to the schoolhouse. So I reported to the schoolhouse, and then that's when I started to go to camp again. So we went to the camps, and I was going, like I said, from camp to camp. And I was in 7 camps before I came to Auschwitz. When we got to Auschwitz, at that time, they didn't have the railroads. Later on, they built a railroad that was going straight into the camp. But when I came, we had to stop in the town of Auschwitz, downtown. And we got off the train, it was after midnight. So they said it's 6 kilometers to go walk to the camp. So we saw Dr. Mengele, everybody knows called Dr. Dead. He went through, lined up. Of course, half of the people on the train were dead, actually, but the ones who survived, they had lined up in the rows of 5, and he went through row by row and picked out to the left. And he said the people on the left are going to be taken on trucks. But when I worked in all the camps before I came, I always tried to get in with a group to go to work with the biggest and the strongest men I could find. Me, a little guy, I could get away with some things. So when Dr. Mengele told me to go to the left, I saw sick people, old people, and I looked around and I said, no, this is not the kind of people I want to be with. So, and my luck was, it was after midnight, actually probably during the day, I don't know if I could have done it. if he moved down, further down, I ran back to the other side. Next morning, we found out the people on the left, they went straight to the oven. I'm also being in Auschwitz. So first we went to Auschwitz and I got this number, tattoo. Went I got a shower and I got this number, the tattoo. And then we moved from the big camp Auschwitz to Auschwitz-Birkenau. And I was in Birkenau for a while, and they kept taking people out. That the Mengele I saw him 2 more times. But fortunately, somehow I got through. Actually, we were tailors from home. One day, before they asked for people to work, we used to hide because you didn't know if it's to work or going to the other side. So one day they said they need tailors. So I report to the tailors. They counted right in front of me, it cut off, we don't need anymore, you go back. So I went back. A couple weeks later, they needed a transport, but no Polish Jews, only Hungarians, Italian, Romanian, Greek, but no Polish. At the end, they were short about 300 people, so they said, okay, now we'll take some Polish people. So I reported again, and this time we didn't know where we were going. So we were on the train riding around for about 3 days. Till about around the 3rd day, one of the guards told us we're going to Warsaw. So I went back to the second time to the Warsaw Ghetto, this time to clean up after the Warsaw Uprising. Just taking apart brick by brick, all the walls, set them up, and taking apart brick by brick. And there was no camp. We had to build our own camp at the time. No camp, no showers, nothing, except we were getting eaten up by lice. The shirt you wore was shreds. There was no shirt left. It was shreds.